where these new features now become really ingrained in your process is in the commissioning and operation of the PV system. Commissioning is quick and intuitive with Fronius. We have something called the Solar Start app. It guides you step by step to ensure optimal settings have been applied to the inverter and a smooth startup experience every time. We also understand that interconnection applications are time consuming and oftentimes very frustrating. That's where the new configuration report feature comes to streamline that process. Instead of taking screenshots of the inverter settings and dealing with spreadsheets to send to utilities, the Gen24 now produces a file which is recognized by the utilities that can be submitted to prove those DER settings are accurate and, of course, tied to that particular PV system. Really shaping up a new way of commissioning and going through the interconnection application here. Operation is what the homeowner cares about. Some settings may need to be adjusted after the initial commissioning. And with Fronius, it's no longer a problem. The new remote configuration feature has you covered, allowing you to make settings quickly and securely from virtually anywhere without needing to visit or roll a truck to the site. This ties together really well with that configuration report as we were speaking about. Have you ever missed a DER setting or maybe fat-fingered a setting when you were commissioning the inverters and then needed to roll a truck in order to fix it, to get back on site to actually make those settings changes again? If you're installing the Gen24 or the Gen24 Plus, that struggle is no longer real. And when it comes to your customers, they're expecting a little bit more than just solar. They want visibility and, of course, insights into their energy usage. With the Fronius Solar.web, you can deliver exactly that. It's a powerful, user-friendly platform. It's easy for homeowners to monitor their performance, track their savings, and take control of their energy. At this time, I'd like to introduce Jakaria so that he can go ahead and have a quick word with us about EPRI. Again, thank you so much for joining today's webinar. He's an expert in DER and configuration report files and is very well versed in development and operation of these DER features. Take it away, Jakaria.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Yeah, so if you don't know about EPRI, EPRI stands for Electric Power Research Institute. So we are a nonprofit organization doing research on energy, and we mainly partner with a number of different companies and specifically electric utilities. And we do research that kind of sits in the middle of basic academic research and industry adoption. So we kind of try to do a bridge between that. And the thing that we are talking about today here is the common file format for DER settings exchange. That is a very similar idea. Very simple, but very powerful. So the common file format for DER settings, what is this, right? So we are not really talking about what the settings should be. And we know what are the settings, right? The IEEE 1547 standards has set out a list of DER settings or DER functions that you need to configure and to be certified by IEEE 1547 or nationally recognized test labs like UL or some others. What we're talking about here is a format of a file which will contain the settings, but this file format should be understandable by both these parties. So on this diagram that we have on the screen, one side is the utility and one side is the developer or installer like you or the manufacturer. The challenge that we have had in the industry so far is when we exchange these settings, there was no standardized file format that these parties are using, right? For example, when the utilities need to express what they require, right, how the DER should be set up to be allowed to interconnect to their grid, they are providing their required settings. And if there are 100 utilities, they are publishing that in 100 different ways. So it's kind of hard for these installers to understand each one of them, right? So there are 100 different types of documents that they need to understand to be able to program the DER correctly according to what was required. And the other way is also true, right? When the utility during the interconnection process, they are at some point asking for evidence, right? You can see the arrow that's going from the developer to the utility here. That's where you as the installer, like you need to send your evidence to the utility saying that, yes, I have programmed the DER like this. So remember, like a couple of years ago, we had one of our members or partners, one of the utilities, they called us and they said, I received like 300 photographs from these installers. They are photographs of these LCD screens, and they're saying that this is the proof of how they have programmed the DER, and I don't know what to do with that. And they asked us, like, can you do something about it? And that's how it started, right? So it's a very simple thing. We just want to have a standardized format of a file where we will have these setting labels or setting names and their values, right? That's it. So if we have a standardized format like this and everyone understands that format, the utilities, the developers, installers, manufacturers, then it's so much easier to exchange these settings, right? That's how we started this process a couple of years ago. What we did, it was, you can see on this slide, it started in 2020, right? And it did not really start from scratch. The IEEE 1547 standards were already working on similar things, right? So they had a thing that they called the results reporting file format, which was for like test results or something like that. And they wanted to standardize that. And we took that idea and we formed this working group. You can see all these logos here, like they were mostly utilities, but they were manufacturers, they were national labs, they were like experts from IREC and so on. So we sat together every week and we worked on this, and we came up with this thing that we call the common file format, or a standardized file format for DR settings. And the good thing is, like, references for this file format has been introduced in the IEEE standards already. So it's not something that is like an EPRI standard. It's also included in the IEEE standards, and they highly recommend to use this to streamline the process, to eliminate errors, to eliminate time, to eliminate cost, right? So when the utilities are publishing their required settings, if they use this format, it's so much easier for you guys, the installers, to understand, because you're getting those 100 different profiles of settings, but in a similar format, right? It helps. As installers, you are sending this evidence in the same format. It's also easier for the utilities to verify, right? What I originally required, I can easily compare it with what I just got from them. I mean, we feel like this is a very important thing to streamline the process of interconnection, and this is the right direction. And thanks to Fronius for implementing these software features on their apps that support this. So using this app, I believe like what you can do is you can export these evidence in this file format out of an inverter once you have configured it. It's easy for you to create that file, that evidence, in this file format and send it back to the utilities saying that this is how I have configured this. The good thing is the industry is adopting it right now. So there are utilities who are coming and they are saying that I am publishing my requirements in this format. There are utilities who are saying that they prefer the evidence in this file format. And I'm pretty sure at some point they're going to say they require the installers or developers to submit the evidence in this format, because otherwise it's not helping them, right? So I believe like this feature is going to be very helpful for all of you.
Well, thank you so much. Deeply insightful as always. I really appreciate the work you guys are doing over at EPRI. So the one thing that I wanted to mention is I imagine that this is still a lot of information for a lot of people, and even I still have questions regarding this. So I utilized the resources and I sat down with Christian and tried to ask some of the most pressing questions on the subject. So please enjoy this video. I have a video that we recorded where I try and get his expert opinion on this.
Hello, and welcome to a special presentation by Fronius USA. My name is Zachary Kieran, Product Manager of Residential Systems, and with me today is Codes and Standards Engineer, Christian Eder. In today's video, I'd like to talk about two very unique features which are changing the way in which you interface with utilities and the Gen24 and Gen24 Plus inverters. Those two features are namely the configuration report tool and the remote configuration feature. In today's video, we are introducing these features, which are transforming the solar and storage installation process, cutting down on miscommunication between yourself and the utility, and helping you navigate with speed and accuracy. So Christian, I'd like for you to present the problem and maybe show how we're solving this problem with the new features.
So basically the problem is that different utilities have different requirements. And these requirements are maybe even different within the territory of the utilities and may be also depend on the system, if it's with a battery, if it's PV only, and so on. And utilities would require for each of these requirements a different grid setting. And this is something what is not manageable by the manufacturers to create and maintain. And it's not manageable by installers to select the correct one of the settings as well. Utilities normally require evidence that the correct settings were applied. And in the past, this was done by taking pictures of displays or taking screenshots of the web user interface. And this was definitely not aligned between the utilities and the manufacturers.
So Christian, are the settings between different utilities, do they vary pretty vastly between each other? Is there very, very significant changes between the different utilities?
Definitely. Just think about different utilities and different locations, DER penetrations. Think of Puerto Rico, California, or Hawaii. They definitely have different requirements, and utilities normally have to specify this requirements and have to publish this as well.
Sure. And with the new configuration reporting tool, how exactly are we helping to make sure that these different DER settings are aligned between ourselves and the utility?
So there's EPRI's Common File Format, and this file format has its origin in IEEE 1547 and also in 1547.1. And EPRI was leading an industry group to correct some stuff and streamline the usage of this the file format. There are two applications for this. One of them is the specified settings file, where it's mainly used by utilities to publish their requirements. And the other application would be the applied settings files, where manufacturer and installers prove to the utilities that the correct settings were applied at the DER.
So you called it the Common File Format.
Correct. The Common File Format is more or less a CSV file, which stands for comma-separated values. And the special thing on this file is that it's readable by humans and it's readable by machines.
And it takes the settings in which we have on our inverter and translates them into a way in which the utilities and humans and machines can read them in a harmonized format.
Correct. Just think about different manufacturers are serving different territories, not just the US, and they may use different parameters. And every manufacturer has now to more or less translate their parameters to Common File Format.
Interesting. Is there like a centralized database in which the DER settings for different utilities are stored?
There's a database, EPRI was creating one, and some utilities are using this already. There's still some work necessary to improve this database and that more utilities are using it. Some utilities even are publishing their requirements in Common File Format on their own web page, or still using the old way to publish their requirements.
Interesting. This Common File Format, it's a CSV file, and this is downloadable from the inverter?
This is correct. You can download the CSV file from the inverter after you perform the changes, if they are required. And you can also download a PDF file, which contains more or less the same content, plus a checksum of the CSV file to make sure that the CSV file was not altered, so that you can prove to the utilities correct settings were applied and that you didn't alter this CSV file.
Excellent. Not only not altered them, but I can prove that this inverter with my serial number has these settings applied, and I can submit that to the utility right after the installation process is done, it seems.
Correct. And the plan is for the future that every manufacturer is doing it the same way, which makes it much easier to approve them, and it makes them much faster as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. And it seems like it ties pretty close into what the remote configuration tool is doing as well, where we now have the ability to go onto Solar.web and then remotely access the settings which are on the inverter. And with this method, I imagine that I could download those DER settings from the inverter with the common file format, and I can even do that remotely now.
Correct. With this remote configuration tool, you can do everything what you can do locally as well. There are only two conditions, or a couple of conditions are your system is online, and you made a Solar.web PV system or created your system in Solar.web as well. Additionally, you would have to have supervisor rights, and if you have the supervisor rights, you can do everything what you are capable to do locally, also remotely.
That's amazing. I was helping one of our installers do this the other day, where we forgot to set up a smart meter on site. And what they ended up doing was they were thinking, okay, I have to go back to site. I need to reconfigure the inverter. But with this new feature, with the new remote configuration tool, we were able to get him into his system from the comfort of his own desk at his shop, and not have to have that extra truck roll, saving him time, money, and making a little bit more of an efficient process at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the great thing is that Fronius is one of the first, or maybe even the first manufacturer who is providing this report in common file format.
Wow. Yeah, it just shows that we're moving in the direction to help solve real world problems that our installers are facing every day. And I think the common file format is absolutely beautiful, really helps solve that problem. But being able to do it remotely, it just ties everything together, ties our ecosystem together, and make things a lot easier for the installers at the end of the day.
Correct.
Did we touch on what needs to happen next with the common file formats? Where do you see this going in the future?
So the plan is that manufacturers, and especially we plan to have a feature where we can also import the specified settings files published by utilities or created by somebody else, import them to our web user interface, and then based on this imported parameters, we program to the inverter. And after that, you would just create the report again and submit it to the utility so that you get your approval and your PV system is up and running.
That would be amazing. Instead of having to go through and change 10, 15 different settings, I can just import a file directly to the web user interface and then submit those files over to the utility with the proof that it was set up properly on this particular DER.
Yeah, I hope we have this feature early 2026. Let's see.
What software version is the common file format and the remote configuration tool? What software version is this on? Is this already available?
It's already available. Definitely at the moment we have software version 1.36 and it's available with this version, and some of these features maybe we already available with previous version, but it's also always important to keep your software up to date.
And the system on Solar.web.
Correct.
Well, great. Christian, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. If anybody is curious or wants to know a little bit more about what Fronius can do for them and the features that are a part of our inverter in the Gen24 series, you can email pv-sales-usa@fronius.com. And as always, stay connected, and we'll see you in the next one. Christian, thank you so much.
It was a pleasure for me, my friend.
Looking forward to the next one. Cheers.
So the next steps for me is tying everything back together, right? So we have the key features of the Gen24, which we displayed earlier, but after today, the idea is that now we're tying in even more features, and those features that will streamline the interconnection application and, of course, your dealings with utilities. So remote configuration, adjust the settings of the inverter from basically anywhere, and the configuration report tool that was touched upon by Christian and Jakaria, handing off DER settings in a common file format so there's no more confusion. Going forward, I'd like to now show you a little bit about how you can do this today. So this is available on all software for the Gen24 starting at 1.36 and beyond. So starting now, we have the 1.36 software. If your inverter is set up to date, then you'll be able to handle all of these functions, which I described right now. But the first step is logging on and starting up with Solar.web. And of course, if you don't have a Solar.web account, you're definitely going to need to get one. It provides much more than just monitoring tools for you as an installer. It can be used for troubleshooting as well as ensuring that similar systems are performing comparably, for example. Logging into Solar.web is quite nice. We can go right through and get into what is basically the main splash page of Solar.web. And this is what my splash page looks like. I got to get my system numbers up here. But we would then select the system to view. In this case, I'm going to click Inverter 20. And then we want to go into the settings of the system. This is the main Inverter 20 splash page here. We can, if everybody's familiar with Solar.web, we can get the current power, energy balance today, etc. But we're going to want to go into settings. And then here we can see we have the permissions tab. We'll click on permissions. And we want to make sure that we have supervisor access. And this is very important. When we have the supervisor access, this is going to allow you to remote into the inverter. And you can't do it with just regular guest access. So you want to make sure that you have yourself set up with supervisor rights for that particular PV system before you go into remote the inverter. Once we verify that, or if we needed to add a permission and have done so, then we go into the components section here on Solar.web. These are all right next to each other, basically. We would go ahead and click on components. Oh, I guess my square has kind of gone a little bit crazy there. But the next step is to click on the three dots where it says actions. This is a brand new function within Solar.web. There's never been anything populated here before, but now we have a couple of different items here. We have the customer password reset, which is also relatively new. And now we have open up web interface. So we would click that. Device settings is the new action tab here. We would click device settings, and now it makes much more sense. We can see that open web interface is there now. Clicking on Open Web Interface will take about a few seconds, and then we'll actually be logged in remotely to this inverter. Now that we're into the inverter, we can do anything that we need to do, including making settings changes, DER settings changes, for example, or even setting up and commissioning a smart meter or doing something along those lines. Not so long ago, I had somebody that needed to commission and get everything set up with their smart meter, and we left the site before everything was appropriately done. So we were able to go back into the inverter, set up his smart meter, and it was all around a really good and pretty smooth operation there. One thing to note is that you want to make sure you remember your installer password. So the Gen24 is protected by a technician and a customer password. So depending on what kind of devices, what kind of settings you need to change, you would use the appropriate password there. But from here, it's simple to download the common file format and the DER settings from this inverter. We would then go into System, and then we have a tab here that's called Configuration Report. This is also very new for the inverter. Now Fronius supports downloading the applied settings. So these are the DER settings that were applied to the inverter. And we can download that in either a PDF or a CSV, comma separated values package. You take your pick. They may want something, they may want the CSV file with the PDF file to back it up. The reason is if I were to click on PDF, we would download what's called the applied settings right here. And what you see here is a checksum. So we'll kind of take this step by step, and we'll go through each item. We have the general information, of course, but then we have what's called the checksum. Excuse me. The idea behind the checksum is that you can submit the comma-separated values file, the CSV file, to the utilities, and then utilize this PDF file to prove even those settings are correct at that point. So the CSV file will contain pretty much the same information without the checksum, and here in the PDF file, a little bit more secure and shows that this is the settings that are applied to this specific inverter. What I am not showing here is the serial number. So with the report, you're going to get a lot of information, including the serial number of the inverter, what is connected to it, and some items like the DER settings. I don't want to take too much time and go through each one of them, but for example, you see that the serial number of the inverter is here, so we can prove this settings are applied to this inverter. We show exactly what the inverter model number is, and then various grid settings, including frequency high values, frequency low values, trip times, etc. All of this is provable here on this document, including grid service functions like power frequency, etc. Could be anything that those utilities may want you to implement on the inverter. It will show up right here on this report. What else is pretty cool about this report is that you have the option to go to Solar SOS if you have a Solar SOS account, and then a PV support, just in case you have any questions about the common file format, or about setting up a particular setting on this inverter. We would be able to help you and support you there. So we include our name and our information there on the top right of the report. Special thanks again to Jakaria. Christian, thank you so much for being on with us. Everybody stay tuned for the next one, and thank you very much.